Okay.
Okay, hello.
Hi.
So I'm Helia, and I'm one of the convention aides. Today I'm with the C.A.C.A. Uplifting isn't it Uplifting Voices? Okay, sorry. Uplifting Voices Project at the National Lodge in San Francisco. And today it is September 6th at 5 p.m. And we are recording this conversation for the purposes of our historic records pertaining to the national conventions. So I will need you to give your consent to this recording. So you can say my name is.
My name is Wong, and I give consent to this recording.
Okay, thank you so much. So I will begin with the questions. What lodge are you from, and how long have you been a member of C.A.C.A.?
I am a member of the Albuquerque Lodge since 2006, so that makes it 19 years.
Okay. And how are you feeling about the convention so far as of today? And what are you most looking forward to in the future for this convention?
So I always enjoy the conventions. I always learn something, and this one is especially important to me because of the resolutions that have just been passed. I'm usually pretty quiet when resolutions are being discussed, but I think that the resolutions this year, the importance, the timeliness of them, just resonate with me. So this is the first time that I almost spoke up for almost every resolution.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a serious matter. Yeah.
And I think because the political tension, the division that we see in this country is reflected in what our position is in C.A.C.A. And so I wanted to speak out in support of a number of the resolutions, and so happy that C.A.C.A. is taking a position, but many of them are going to be internal direction to the board.
Yeah.
I still feel that it's great that C.A.C.A. is going to do something.
Okay, thank you so much. Great answer. How about what you're most looking forward to following this?
Well, can I be a little facetious?
Oh, of course.
I've been looking forward to the Don Tots every day. It is just wonderful. You know, Albuquerque does not have a lot of Chinese restaurants. You know, we're just not talking about Chinese. I have been looking forward, and other people too. You know, the good Chinese food that we can see here. I'm also, you know, it's sort of closing out because I always have a good time. I really enjoy the conventions.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking last night, it's going to be a little sad because I won't see these people again for 2 years. Just looking forward to another few hours.
Okay. Next question. What feelings or memories come to mind when you think about your first C.A.C.A. convention?
The first, I guess, memory is the hospitality that was extended to C.A.C.A. Attendees. So, you know, most of us, you know, are professionals, and we have our professional association. And not to say that the professional associations are inhospitable, but the first one that I attended was in San Gabriel, and I was just overwhelmed by the hospitality, the kindness. You know, they picked us up at the airport. You know, they drove us around, and so now I learned, being involved with the Albuquerque area and also being past president.
Excuse me, you said San Gabriel?
San Gabriel.
What year was this, may I ask?
Then it would have been like 2007. Is it every odd year? 2009.
I see.
So now I learned as being past president that we have to extend, you know, the hospitality that's labeled C.A.C.A. And sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming, but you know, that's just the tradition of C.A.C.A. that I want to extend, and also being part of the, you know, the greater Chinese community.
Yeah. Why did you first decide to join C.A.C.A.? I believe it's in 2007?
2006 when I retired. So when I was retired, I was in a meeting in Texas, I believe, and Carolyn Chan, past president, who is a friend of mine, or her husband really, so we're both optometrists, and her husband I knew first, and then Carolyn, she called me and she asked me to run for a local position. And I hate to tell you, but my first comment, is there a lot of work to it? And she assured me that there was no work involved. So I said yes. And so since then I've been involved, and very happily that I have been. But the other thing I would like to mention, so I was brought up in Sacramento, born in San Francisco, brought up in Sacramento, my formative years. The C.A.C.A. would be the closest thing that I would ever get to a family association. So I wanted to join, the C.A.C.A. My family, my father was very active in the Wong Family Association as past president and whatever. So I wanted to just be around more Chinese if possible. And so those were the two reasons.
Yeah.
Carolyn asked me to do something and there was no work involved.
Right.
Remember that. And then just being the closest thing to a Chinese family association.
What motivates you to continue your involvement today?
Well, today really is a good example that we have the legitimacy and the credibility of the C.A.C.A. platform to go out and talk to other people, other legislators, other elected officials. If it's just me, Xu Wong, saying, I support this, that's one thing. But if I have the legitimacy and credibility of a organization that has been around for 130 years, that just elevates it. So when I was working on my various projects in Albuquerque, when I would approach somebody, an elected official, the standard speech I always give, I'm with the Chinese American Citizen Alliance, the oldest Asian American civil rights organization established in 1895. Automatically, that gave me a certain legitimacy. And the comment always, I didn't know that. So you got education and legitimacy all in one quick 5 seconds.
Right.
So that's why I continue to C.A.C.A. In addition, I know, can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
So when I was researching about, what Chinese Americans have done since 1800 forward, the books that I discovered and read and researched in the University of New Mexico Library would mention C.A.C.A. So I know that the legacy of C.A.C.A. is long and proud. And so I am just so happy that I am with this type of organization, because it's so important that we fight for our civil rights.
What historic or personal event do you credit for inspiring your involvement in C.A.C.A., if any?
Repeat that question.
What historic or personal event do you credit for inspiring your involvement in C.A.C.A.? Which I think you kind of touched on. But...
Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm not sure if I'm going to answer that question.
Yeah.
But going back again, using the platform of C.A.C.A., I have been able to bring out what Chinese Americans have done for this country. We have, our impact is so wide. It's just the Wong Kim arc, for example. Prior to being involved in C.A.C.A. and having a day job, I really was not involved. Just very, very proud of being Chinese. And to me, being an American is just icing on the cake, but still being Chinese is number one. And having C.A.C.A. working on historic preservation, just educating me on what I should know about what we have done as a group of Chinese Americans. It's just been wonderful. It's really added a lot to my life. Just very happy to be involved.
Yeah. Well, so we talked a bit about how C.A.C.A. is the oldest civil rights group organization.
Oldest.
So what do you think is a reason for its longevity and sustainability, and how do you think we might be able to attract more younger people to continue on?
Might not be able to, but the longevity, I think, is because that we have been able to evolve with the times. So one example I can bring up is that historic preservation, that was not important 100 years ago. I think civil rights, trying to protect our citizenship, and racism, discrimination, xenophobia, all of that was important during the 20th century. But now we have evolved that for us, it is important that we preserve this history, that our history is not forgotten, our contributions are not erased. It is so important. I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question?
How do you think that C.A.C.A. as an organization should attract younger people?
Well, I mean,
to continue on its
if
legacy.
you can tell us, you know, that's the $64,000 question.
Right.
But I know that when I was president, I thought that one of the things that, projects that we should have would be beneficial to the membership, but to attract the young. So I started one project in my head, and I thought that, why don't we have a dragon boat race down the Rio Grande? Well, the Rio Grande only has an inch of water, so that was forgotten very, very quickly. My nephew family is very active with dragon boats. I mean, we're talking about going to competitions across the world. So, but no dragon boat races on an inch of water in the Rio Grande. But I started the film festival because I thought, everybody liked films, and so this would be something. I founded the film festival in 2016 because I thought that this is something that would attract the younger group to join, and they would have something to do. What are you offering me now? Well, I'm offering you, a film festival. But that has not happened. We still have the same. I shouldn't say that. We have had some new members who wanted to be part of the film festival, but not in the numbers that we all want. The Los Angeles Lodge, for example. Eight students came. I mean, it was just wonderful. So I don't have the answer, but I do know that it is, what are you going to do for me? So we just have to answer that question.
Okay. Very last question, or actually this might not be the last question. What accomplishments are you most proud of to have witnessed while you've been a member?
Well,
and you can say either your local lodge or nationally.
Well, can I speak about what I'm very proud of?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So, when was the Oakland meeting? 2013?
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why I enjoy coming to C.A.C.A, I always learn what the other lodges are doing and what perhaps we can copy. And basically, that's fine, no problem. So at the 2013 meeting, I learned that the C.A.C.A had a capacity grant, $500, and that and that the local lodge would have to match it or not, but there was $500 available. And the second thing I learned is that when you see all these monuments, you see all these plaques to Chinese Americans, across the nation, predominantly in California and other places, but not in New Mexico. So going back again to what I was doing and researching, Chinese American, you would learn about activities, events, a lot of programs, projects that were done over 200 years in California, and then Arizona, and then the blank, nothing in New Mexico. Then you jump into Texas, and so that's not true. Something happened in New Mexico that we should share with the larger community. Our contribution, what happened? So in 2013, I decided to just approach the mayor. And said that we have $500, could you match $500 so that we can put a plaque in? So when I met with him, he basically said, I'm going to give you $5,000. And $5,000 for what?
Yeah.
I didn't know. He didn't know what he was going to give $5,000. I didn't know what I was going to use $5,000 for. So this was crazy. And so he gave me $5,000. I went out, talked to a librarian, and the librarian found a landmark Chinese American New Mexico civil rights case, the territory of New Mexico v. Yishan, 1882. And so that was a case where Chinese, during that time period from 1850 on, Chinese testimonies were not allowed in court. But in New Mexico in 1882, Chinese testimonies were allowed in this court case. So from that $5,000 that I got from the mayor, I said that was basically seed money. So when I approached two other city councilors, and I said, the mayor is putting in $5,000. They view it as seed money. I got an additional $10,000. Then I went to the state legislature, and I said, the mayor, seed money? Yeah, I'm going to give you money. So I was able to raise over $250,000
Oh my goodness.
to all public money.
Wow.
But let me backtrack, because nobody wants to fundraise. Yeah, I mean, anybody that's in their sane mind does not want to fundraise. But $15,000 is not going to get much. So I talked to a county commissioner, and she basically said, you have to go to the state legislature. So I said, I'm going to bite the bullet, and I'm going to go. My husband was active politically, and so, and I was able to speak to one of the state senators, and he,
Excuse me, your husband's name?
William Jones, yeah. And he said to me, why don't we have something that recognizes the contribution of Chinese Americans? It's about time.
Right.
Which speaks to the point that there are not many Chinese in New Mexico. And so we are not a dime a dozen like California. So yes, he was going to help us. So with his help, the state senator, we were able to raise $250,000. And so over a period of 8 years, though, from the start of this idea of meeting the mayor to the actual dedication of this monument, which is on the west side of the county courthouse, we are recognizing a Chinese American court case that really changed the legal landscape of the relationship of Chinese and race and law.
Yeah.
So so that is the biggest thing I've done.
That's an amazing accomplishment.
It is.
Amazing story.
Yeah. And this happened in New Mexico.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for that. Okay, this is the last question.
Okay.
What advice would you want to give to the next generation of C.A.C.A members?
Well, I guess I'm going to start out. Be very, very proud of being Chinese, because not only our culture, but the contributions that we have made, to this nation.
Yeah.
So the Wong art, the Yikwo, the Yishan, how we change, the
How do you
legal.
spell his name? I'm sorry, Helia.
Yeah.
Yishan,
Yishan.
Y-E. So it's the territory of New Mexico. V. Yishan, Y-E-E, capital S-H-U-N, 1882. So can I brag a little bit? So when I started, researching this after the librarian gave me the idea, there were only 2 citations. One, the paper that was written by John Wonder, who was a professor in Nebraska, and this other 1 page.
Yeah.
If you Google territory of New Mexico Yishan, you find a page now. And so it's just me. I'm going to say that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's very impressive.
But I should say it was luck too.
Yeah.
Going back to there are very few Chinese or Asian in New Mexico. And so I think that the state legislator was feeling a little guilty. Why not? Why are you not recognized? We recognize the Hispanics, we recognize whomever, but it's your turn to be recognized, and so that's why we got the monument.
Yeah.
So what do I suggest to young
The next generation.
next generation? First of all, be very, very proud of being Chinese. The contributions that we have made to this nation and across the world. Okay, and understand that even though it's 2025, there is still discrimination, and you have to fight it. Okay, you can't be quiet. And I know that you have a life, but if there is an opportunity to speak out, to understand that you stand on people, shoulders, being organizations, your family, and try to do something that will make a difference. Try to do something that will make you proud, so that when you are 90 years old, you can look back and say, I made a difference. You don't have to cure cancer. You don't have to have the actual key to racism, but if you do your little whatever, just pick away at what needs to be picked away, so that you can die happy. That you, first of all, you are lucky to be born Chinese, and that you made a difference in this world.
Well, that's great advice. I'll be thinking about it.
Oh, okay.
So you set an example from what I can see first, and Helia brought it out in you. That one, you were not afraid to ask the question, and two, you went to the librarian, and you have no idea.
Margie is a librarian.
And she's in library school.
Yeah.
My brother.
So you've given her an added reason
Right.
why the heck she's in library school.
Yeah.
So my brother-in-law is a librarian.
Oh, no way.
And so let me just tell you, you don't have to take this, but so I volunteered at my daughter's middle school library for 13 years.
Wow.
Okay, and the only reason why I stopped was COVID, and they couldn't. But I always remembered this incident where a young, so this is middle school, a young student came up to the librarian and said, "Can you recommend a book?" And she just spouted off all of these books. And I was thinking, how does she know that? And so I talked to my brother-in-law. He said, that's my job.
Yeah.
That's the job of a librarian. But can you imagine that the librarian would know just from the one question what might interest this student, and put that little seed of wanting to read for the rest of his or her life. And I will tell you one last thing. I've always enjoyed reading, and I thought that when I had my daughter, I would stop, never stop. I read almost every single day and enjoy it. Yeah. So I love librarians. I really do. Yeah.
Well, you're talking to two people who really need to hear this.
Oh, I tell you, when I went over to my sister, my brother-in-law, he worked for the Oakland Library. So this is back in the 70s and 80s. That was still a time where you could specialize. So he was a music librarian in addition to being a children's librarian. But I would go over to his house and he would have stacks of books. Oh, it was just wonderful. I just love it. Yeah, I was telling my sister.
Yeah.
I'm going to be seeing her.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you